Wow.
Wow, this is some really deep stuff.
I don't know what just happened, but something happened inside of me. Something snapped, something.
I wasn't expecting that either.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. It's beautiful.
Monster is like really small, but it had to become that to stop me.
And then the hurt child became present when you mentioned it.
And I didn't realize this until now.
There were things that I didn't remember until now.
Funny, I haven't seen that before.
And it feels like I'm the monster. I'm kind of seeing images of things, of a world where they can exist. This clarity brings all kinds of answers.
It's clear. She hugged me and then went back to her place, I guess, in my heart. Oh, it wants to come out. It wants to bippity boppity boop Cinderella me. She's melted into my chest. It's ooey gooey.
All week been finishing things, cleaning up more, started eating vegetables again last week. And it kind of just started happening. It's almost like I just finished going through a meditation session.
I feel light, when you hit that first joint, in the morning, and
I actually feel a lot more awake.
So, where would you like to start?
Okay. Yeah, I do think I will just kind of word vomit and let different things flow through, and then it becomes what I would like to be worked on steps forward, and becomes more apparent that way.
Sounds good.
Okay. Oh, and I guess sometimes multiple parts get seen, whatever amount they wanted to be seen, in order for them to be ready for someone else to be seen. Just that just occurred to me that probably happens as well. Okay. Okay, so I'm just listening in. That's so funny. A part of me is we're on camera.
Yeah.
We're recording. And so I just observed it for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's like a little kid who's staring at the microphone.
Yeah, I get that.
Oh,
I get that
funny.
part pretty often. So I'll just remind everybody that anything can be cut. It's no big deal. And, you can cut portions out. You can cut the whole thing out.
Yeah. Man, that was just funny to observe. Because I had 4 things that were coming through leading up to the session. And then they got pretty quiet. And then just the little kid was looking at the microphone.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think, that also will help to word vomit a little bit, to touch, to connect to things. Okay. So then we'll do that. So I've been connecting to, I'm interested, I've been hearing from a sense or feeling of searching or seeking to understand my strengths and my intuitive gifts and strengths. Understand what are what is my gift, or where and how can I serve the most, and through what avenues does my system connect to truth, connect to information, connect with other people, and the feeling of like, oh wow, that person does it that way, that's so cool, that person does it that way, and then looked back at myself with this, and there was this feeling of like, oh well, then wait, what's here? If not, if not like that person or that person, what is here? Like, how do I do it?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna let that sit for a minute, because I think there were a couple other things I wanted to vomit through. Okay, so that, what am I? Who am I? Where is my place? Okay. Oh. And then, a theme of when something heavy or hard comes in life, you have to just bear it and keep going. A part experienced that for an extended period of time, and it became a habit. Like, it became its way of handling things instead of like jumping into solutions. Like, okay, well, let's get going on this. Let's shift it in some way. Let's do something. Instead, it says like, no, you just have to. Oh, it's going to be heavy forever, and you just have to, try to do your best. Okay, so there's that. Is there anyone else? Oh, okay, what are you? And then there's this about moving forward. No, that's not the right word. Change, embracing me, embracing. Okay, I won't just talk about it. It prefers this way. Okay. A sense of a thing about embracing new forward movement. Yeah. Embracing new forward movement as it is experienced as wow, as a glass is going to break. Okay. So yeah, like, forward movement is just going to be a bad thing, and things are going to break. Okay, so that feels, let me check others. That feels most pertinent.
Okay.
So I'll go there. Okay. So I'm going to feel into it more.
Bodily sensations.
So I get the image of a bridge that there's only the first half, a suspension bridge, and only the first half is visible. And so it's this feeling of like, what is that feeling?
Trepidation.
Of just like, trepidation of like, this is not good. And then a glass bowl, and it gets dropped on the floor. And even watching the visual of like someone picking it up, if you see someone holding, like a little kid holding something glass with only one hand, and it's like drooping, and you're like, hurry, 2 hands. You got to use 2 hands for that. It's heavy. And that like feeling of like, oh no, I know what's going to happen. I don't like the story going this way. Let's change it to make the glass bowl safe. But the story was playing out in front of me, and like it wasn't turning around. It like someone picked it up off the counter and was holding it over the floor and didn't like put it back on the counter, and it's safe. Like the story kept continuing of like, oh no, it's in danger. It broke. Yeah, that's the feeling. Can we feel into that stronger? Future forward movement feels like the suspension bridge, that there's only a portion of it and the rest of it's missing. And the feeling, the trepidation, feeling of, oh yeah, unsupported, airy, like the first portion of the suspension bridge exists, and then either there's like clouds blocking the rest of it, or the rest of it doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. So you're just up in the air, and now you've got this big empty space in front of you. You're not supported. It's a very teetery place to be. Very likely, risky. The risk, very likely, wobble and fall off sideways or fall off forward off the edge of where the bridge was supposed to continue, and it didn't. Okay.
Does any of this correlate with locations in the body or?
So far it's kind of soft, so I'm trying to be with it deeper to feel it louder, but it's like a bit through below the sternum and up a little bit through the sternum, and it's kind of like a sideways. It's like a diagonal space. Goes kind of from like left of the heart down towards the right lower ribs, of a feeling of, like that unsupported, and almost like, like how you would hold your breath when you see the bowl start to drop, or like teetering. Yeah. Okay, so let me feel again. Yeah, so up high, there's like upper sternum is like a tension, a little bit of a tension, and the lower portion is almost like absent. It's totally airy, fully unsupported, fully unfounded. Okay. Yeah, so the feeling of, excuse me.
And you might not be able to describe it, but how do you deepen your access to that?
I go into it, go focus more on the visual and the sensation, and the words that resonated with it. Forward movement into future, unfounded, airy, moving forward movement into the future is airy. It's like leaving the solid earth and walking forward off a cliff or like into the air.
Would it be helpful to invite it in kind of a proactive way of like some way to kind of ask it to come to the conversation with you?
Yeah, I'll try that. Okay. All that is connected to this experience should be willing to step forward to talk with me and connect with me about this. I feel so far it's feeling kind of nonverbal, like just the pictures and motioning and body sensations. So I'll go into that to be able to hear to get closer to it. What are you worried would happen if I moved forward into the future? Oh, and then that feeling of like scary, almost like, so I walked forward and the bridge ended and I was walking in space, and then I was just suspended and kind of like floating, like a little, bouncing a little bit and floating there and almost like stuck. If you're on the ground, you control which direction you move and how fast, and you change directions. And now there's just like a floating right there. Yeah, and like how it'd be tricky to try and turn around or maneuver if you're kind of floating or suspended.
I've seen Wile E. Coyote try to do that.
Okay, so I'm worried if I move forward movement to the future, worried that could happen. Worried.
How's your connection with the part right now? Is it aware of you, and is it aware of your wanting to get to know it?
Somewhat. It feels a little bit off to the side, a little forward and off to the side of me. And almost like a little kid that's like turned their back on you with their arms folded. And they're like, you have to prove that you actually want to hear what I have to say before I feel like I'm engaging with you. Yeah. So I do. Yeah. I want to understand. So I'll keep connecting.
And does that make sense to you that the part would feel that way?
Yeah, I'm sure there's other parts, or even myself, that's felt like, well, not myself, but other parts that have felt like, hey, wait a minute, this is causing problems for me.
Yeah.
Like, what is this thing? What is it doing here? And then I've been scared to get in contact with it. So I'm sure it's kind of been on its own.
Yeah.
That's so funny. And then I'm getting the visual that like when it's more understood, just how a little kid, when you show interest and then they're like, and you start talking about what they're interested in, they like light up and they like turn towards you and they like can't help but like want to talk about it.
Yeah.
It feels like that will happen after it feels like I know a bit more about what it's up to. Okay, so the worst thing that can happen if I have forward movement into the future is it's going to be unstable. It's going to be unstable. It's going to be ungrounded, floating. What's the word? Unstable, unsecure. What is this feeling? And then it goes up in my throat. Yeah, which would be how you'd felt if you like were suddenly suspended in air jello.
Yeah.
Like, whoa,
And are you able to communicate that to the part that like you get it, you get that feeling makes sense, or that it's kind of coming through loud and clear and makes sense to you?
Yeah, I'm letting it know that I'm understanding, and now it's looking at me kind of out of the corner of its eye. I understand a little bit more about it. Okay. All right, Adele, tell me more. So there's, especially vocally, there's like surprise and fear and then frustration. It's like surprise to be suspended, fear at like, whoa, am I going to drop? What's happening? This is scary. And then frustration, like, I can't move myself around. Well, okay. And then there's like crying, scared of like, am I going to drop? When am I going to drop? Like what is going to happen forward in this timeline, and at some point am I, is it going to be something really bad or scary or sad?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and then there's a deeper feeling in this heart area, chest area. Like, oh no. Yeah. About that situation of like, oh no, this is a situation I find myself in and it doesn't look good. Oh, there it is. And it doesn't look good. And it doesn't look good.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't look like, and it could get bad quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And like, we don't know, like if you're in the middle of a suspension bridge and there's ropes that go all the way across, but the path, the wood only goes halfway, and now you're suspended, and it's like, I'll be here for a while. Like, even if I could get over and hold onto the rope and like pull myself floating to the other side, it's going to be a while. Things could happen.
And that all resonates with you, makes sense to you.
Yeah. So let me check in. Okay. It feels like there's more to understand. What is it? And then there's like the parts almost like kind of had been like brooding a little bit before, and now it's almost a little like tantrumy of like, that's so much energy to have inside. Like, so these like kind of, emphatically like, what are we going to do about that? Like, we can't let ourselves get into that place, because then what? And then that's so intense to experience. We shouldn't have ever done that in the first place, gotten ourselves into that situation in the first place. Oh, and then there's crying. Like, I'm trying so hard to stop us from ever getting into that situation. Oh, yeah. A lot of crying. And, okay.
And how are you being with this part now?
I'm holding space and showing it that I'm here and understand.
Is there like a proximity that you feel?
He's turned towards me more. Okay, let me get in contact again. I kind of lost it. Let me focus. Yeah, it feels helpful to connect into the experience and then understand how it's playing out in life to understand this part more. Okay. Okay. So we could end up floating halfway across the suspension bridge. This scary, unfounded situation, with trepidation, really intense and hard, difficult to get out of or get out of quickly. Could drop at any point. Things could break. All manner of things could happen. Be so intense. All the emotions of that. Trying so hard to stop that from ever happening. Trying so hard to keep us safe from that. Trying so hard to keep us founded and grounded. After I get to that point, I keep losing sight of him. Okay, well, I saw an iron. Like, if I stay on the ground, on the earth, on this side of the bridge, we're stable. It's at least stable ground. It's solid ground. Feet are connected to the ground, and you can change directions and stuff. And iron, that's ironing things, keeping everything organized, keeping everything ironed and straight and put in place. The iron has rubber on it, kind of like the sole of a shoe, like grip. What is that for? Maybe able to traction and being able to keep ironing things, keeping them in order and have traction in case there's movement. Oh. Huh. Or like quick action against if something starts to move or change. Have a really good traction to be able to immediately act. Oh, and I feel his crying again. Okay, that's part of your job. Yeah. I've been in charge of keeping everything straight, keeping everything just so, and also responding instantly, quickly. If there's like an earthquake or if anything starts to move or change, you've got this really good traction and you can respond quickly to that and keep things in order still, even if things start to change. Oh yeah, crying, working so hard, so sad. The thought of not having traction. Oh wow, can feel it a bit more. And I'm getting the visual of like floating, like gravity stopped working on me and I just started floating up in the air and like not even in control of what direction I'm going or able to have the ability to act, to choose my direction or control it. It's like, that's the worst. That's the worst.
I'm curious again how you're being with this part.
He's come closer. He's facing towards me. And now, like, his head is down when he's crying. But he's coming to me and telling me more. And he wants to know that he wants to feel that I understand what he's feeling.
Yeah. And does it feel okay for you to move towards him and to increase that?
Let me check. It feels like gently, like he's still getting comfortable with me. Let me see. Yeah, he has pretty strong emotions. He's like, above all, like first of all, he wants his emotions to be understood.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't like anyone and I don't trust anyone and I don't want to look at anyone who doesn't first understand my emotions.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just gonna let him show me more. You
could also ask like what you could do to better understand his emotions, if he has an idea about that, because there's something you could do right now to understand him better.
I asked that, and showing me a visual of like how scary it would be if you could just float away, kind of a thing, or like start floating off the ground, and how scary that'd be. Kind of like the feeling on a roller coaster when you go over a hill,
mm-hmm.
and you have that lifting feeling, which I like. I really like that, or at least parts of me do. But for him, it's like that feeling of like, like not supported by gravity, like not grounded.
Yeah.
And he says, like, what if that could happen at any moment if you could just start lifting up? And so he has a desire to have like a chain connected to the ground and it's like around the sternum. Yeah. It's like around the sternum between the solar plexus and the heart, of like, that's where like a fear feeling was, the fear of that happening. And so I'm getting the visual of that being where like a metal something is connected in and then connected to the ground, of like, oh, okay. Oh, I've got this. I secured this chain to the ground so that I couldn't just float away. Okay. He's feeling more so that I understand him. And it feels like there's another thing that he wants me to know. Okay, what is it? I'm not getting anything. So I'll just share my response for him first. I'm just sharing my presence with him, and I'm sharing about me and showing him who I am.
Yeah. Showing him your groundedness. So at first, when we started hearing or considering the concept that, like, what if the true self was grounded and was secure, or even could fly, like if the ground disappeared out from under. Even better.
What if the true self could just fly?
Yeah.
And so he's like, whoa. And then he's like, prove it.
Yeah.
Show me right now. Go off the edge of the bridge and show that you can fly perfectly. And you better be able to duplicate that. And I need evidence. And I need someone to prove it.
That makes sense.
To my satisfaction, so that I can feel safe.
Yeah.
And that reminds me of, that kind of comes up for me about other things, especially like my intuition or other things. There's that feeling of like, okay, well, you better prove it. This better be solid.
Sure.
You better be repeatable.
Yeah. We don't want to be lying to parts or misleading them.
Huh. Okay, so I'm just being with that for a minute. I feel like, and I might have even kind of blended with him, and I was like, oh no, I was like, wow, oh no, like, what if, oh no, what if this doesn't go well? What if the true self doesn't fly well or something? This is like, this needs to go really well. We need to prove to him that we're grounded.
Right.
So let me make sure I'm not blended and get centered. Someone just said, man, what happened to you? Like, what happened to you? What was this experience in your life where you felt so ungrounded? Like, where is this coming from? That's funny. Okay, but I'm connecting. Yeah, his like intensity of like needing it to be proved solidly. I think maybe was a little startling for other parts.
But you're able to hear that and validate that's it's not a crazy request.
Yeah. And first I'll validate that I hear that that's really important to him. It would be really valuable for him. Oh, that helps. He felt understood and heard. So I'll do that again. Yeah, that's really would be really valuable for you. It's really important to you. He's like, well, yeah, it would be, because that's like my job. My job is making sure we don't fly away or float away. And so this, he's almost, that's so funny. He's so, oh, it's funny. He's like, yeah, that would be of utmost importance for my job. If we have that kind of capacity. Okay, so I'm going to let him see that. Okay, is that him? Or is that someone else? Okay, I didn't get fully centered in self, I don't think, because I started giving him a demonstration like right then on the bridge, because he was so he was so focused on that. But there was some fear of it not working or not working well. And then it didn't work well.
You could try asking like what he would rather be doing with his energy if he didn't have to worry about that.
That feels so strange at the moment, because he feels like he still needs to do this job that he's like, what did you say?
Yeah, just a hypothetical.
But we'll see if he can hypothetically play with that. At first he's like, I can't even connect to that because like the air is stuck in my throat from like the feeling. But he's like, well, first I would want to just lay flat on the beach, like just lay flat on solid earth, and like how and it feels so relieved to not have that job anymore, and to just be secure and securely grounded. And first, he's like, that would be the first thing I would do.
Yeah.
Is just be and exist grounded.
And what's his perception of you? Does he see your true age, your true yourself?
So he, let me see if I can show him again. Well, I didn't fully or finish showing him who I was. And then when the demonstration on the bridge didn't go well, and it was a car, and the car went down in flames into the water, he started pacing back and forth, sad and in flames, like giving off flame energy. And so let me see. Yeah, there was some doubt energy, or like fear of things not working out, and doubt energy. And then when the car did slowly fall down, there was a sadness and like like as if there's always some doubt present that causes things to not work.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's sad to see it, again, how it always does that kind of feeling.
And are you okay with that doubt feeling that he's expressing?
Yeah, and I care about it, and I'm curious. Want to understand. It's like a tired feeling, like sad and kind of like a weak tiredness is where it leaves someone after something didn't work out. So who is that? Is that him? I'm not sure if it's him or a different part, but then I think he ends up being the one who's responsible for what the doubt creates. And he's like, yeah. Let me see. You look at me. Let me tell me. See you. So he's just sad and like still pacing back and forth, but with a real.
Can you see how old this part is?
So he kind of looks almost like a teddy bear, I don't know, some kind of creature. But the number 7 popped up.
Mm-hmm.
Are you 7 years old? He's not answering that.
Does he feel like he's in a time period that he would like to change? Or leave? Or a place?
Can't tell. Are you simultaneously the protector and exile? Okay, well, I'm not getting a clear visual on that. The 7 does seem like it has something to do with it.
Just ask him what it is that you can do for him to alleviate his concern. Even if it's just a little.
So I keep seeing the genie from Disney's Aladdin sing blue, and then the facial expression, so I think this is his sadness that can either be inside of him or come out. I think he wants, so I'm going to acknowledge the sadness. I'm going to ask it to unblend. Oh, there we go.
I'm curious what that would look like to acknowledge the sadness.
I'm just holding space in a conversation with this genie representation. And the tongue speaks doubt, which then causes things to go poorly, and then the whole genie feels sad about the outcome. So just acknowledging, yeah, that would feel really sad. And that feels sternum area, in the color blue. Anything else I want to say? Getting a visual of like things kind of splurting out of his mouth a little bit. Like it ends up squirting out, even if he's trying to keep his mouth closed. So you end up blurting out the doubts and the fear and getting doubt and fear energy on stuff.
Would that be helpful to get that out?
Then you feel sad. Oh yeah, would you I understand that would be so difficult to feel that or hear that inside yourself and it end up blurting out, and then it blurting out feels like it causes things to not work, and then you feel really sad about that outcome, and then this other guy feels really sad as well.
I would just keep asking the parts what you can do for them. Just let them know that you're available, you're okay with hearing it, and you're willing to get creative.
Okay, yeah, let them know that I'm okay with hearing it. I want them to get creative.
Yeah.
I'm here to help in whatever, in capacity, whatever capacity I can help with. Okay, yeah. The blue part is acknowledging me more and smiled a bit at that. Okay, what do you want? Or what do you need? Okay. He's covering his eyes. I think he wants to show me a belief or a memory or something.
Wants to show you what?
Maybe a belief or a memory.
Yeah.
Is that the memory? No, that was something else. Okay. Okay, I'm just holding space for both of them.
How do they feel about being in this space with you?
Let me see. I feel like maybe something glitched, or maybe the blue genie wasn't a clear description, but a distraction. Let me check in again over here. Okay. All right. So I'm kind of showing him the first one and showing him what the self can do. And I showed him in that scenario where only half the bridge is present and then suspended in jello air. I showed him that I could snap my fingers and make the rest of the bridge appear, and that I could still, even if there was jello present, I could still choose to move downward and hold on to the railings and walk my way across the rest of the bridge.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I can't snap my fingers and make the jello clear off of me all the way, but I can start clearing it off of me. Like, I guess it'll be a process.
I wonder if you can snap your fingers and you can be the ground for this part. Connect directly with it. Or if that makes any sense, or...
Yeah. Yeah, it does. And me showing it what I can do with that situation it was worried about is helping it feel grounded, is helping it feel me being its ground. Okay, so that was helpful. I was like, oh, okay. And now I'm just wiping off the jello air off of me, like, there we go, that's possible. That's what we can do if that situation arises. Okay, so I'm just letting him really feel into that possibility, that alternative, and into the story, the alternate outcome.
Yeah, and stay with the curiosity of asking what he would like from you. How you can best help in the future.
So he wants me to kind of walk through, the whole process of, okay, so that's what we did with that suspension bridge. So then what would be the new approach to the whole job?
And I just want to remind you that, you don't have to have all the answers right now. And I mean, like, validating his concern and being willing to have that conversation while also, not having to go through every scenario right this moment. It's just a possibility. I'm just throwing that out there for how you can continue meeting with this part and letting those solutions evolve, because it sounds like this part does want the answers, does want to see it all, and that could take time.
Yeah. Okay. So first thing, yeah, so he's like willing to partner with the self. And so I'm showing him, like, well, first of all, if the self is present, for each step of the process, that already is going to, it's going to feel different. It's going to be, a bit of a different experience that way. And then he kind of, he's willing to partner. He's not willing yet to give up the job completely.
Sure.
But he's willing to agree to let the true self be present for those different experiences, and then that we can, what is it? I can talk with him, and we can I can talk through and like show him my suggestion or like my ideas, my brainstorming of options of what I can do.
Yeah, and vice versa. He can show you. Your channel of communication is deeper now. It sounds like, or it's open now.
I'm just asking him if there's a certain way that he wants to talk to me. So far, it's through this like sternum sensation, which I'm not a huge fan of because it feels uncomfortable, but I'm trying to come up with other ideas. Okay, either he'll come to my mind or he might give me the sternum sensation.
What would be a fun way for him to talk to you?
Through a word. I'm seeing a word in my throat and like hearing it internally, that he can just say that word to get my attention. Okay, cool. It would be fun. We could play with that. Okay. Yeah. He's like looking up, so like we're sitting next to each other and he's like looking up at me, like we're like both working on a project together. And yeah, he's interested. And he's definitely game to be work on it together instead of him needing to be the only one doing it.
Yeah. How's that feel for both of you?
That feels more expansive. That feels lighter. And I still feel his nervousness. So he's like, well, we haven't.
Sure.
He wants to see it. He's like, we haven't like done it all yet, but like he's feeling more hopeful and like open to hear. Like he keeps looking up at me like to hear my advice or hear what I have to say. So that feels, a lot better for him and a lot lighter for him. Okay. Oh, and that feels a lot lighter in my body too. And it makes sense that I can still feel a bit of that, like a little bit of tension or concern.
Sure.
But it's much smaller.
Are there other parts that have concerns or anything about the work you're doing here?
My left, inside my left side of my head, there's a little bit of a pressure that someone else was concerned kind of about the whole topic.
Yeah.
So I can acknowledge them. And it makes sense. It feels like, that's fitting. Like they're wanting, like it's in process. It's not like fully resolved, fully, so acknowledge them. Anyone else? Yeah, the left side of my body has a couple places acknowledged. Anyone else? Any communications or anything else needed? Someone said, whoa. Okay. Agreed. That is, I hear you. Okay. Yeah, so I'll keep listening or staying connected.
Yeah. It's great.
Wow. Wow. Thank you.
Thank you. So any more you want to talk about with me? Questions, things I should do differently, do better, or anything?
Mm.
We can talk about it another time too, if you like.
Let me see. I think I noticed that the genie was kind of made up, as in, like, feeling like I needed to be able to describe, like, what was going on. But the system, like, tried to find a visual and, like, a way to describe what was happening. So that was interesting to notice. So then, like, when I, like, stepped back and, like, just openly kind of checked in to, like, verify, it's like, okay, it's okay if this isn't, you know, like, if this, and it was like, yeah, that kind of all was, because there was even another visual after that. I was like, okay, yeah, sure, if this is a visual communicating, but it was like, no, it was kind of just trying to get, like, trying. Yeah.
Well, it sounds
So
like,
that was
like your
interesting.
intuition got you to the right place with that pretty quickly.
Yeah, I noticed. Yeah, to step back and recheck. Okay.
Well, thank you again. Thanks to your parts for showing up and sharing.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for the space. One thing is coming up. What is it? And I guess it might be on similar to that. If there's some part of me, some part that feels like it needs to be able to provide, like, descriptions or process of the story. I have a curiosity of what would happen if I just, sometimes, if I just sat with something. Often it will evolve on its own. Like, it'll move to the next step. Sometimes it'll get stuck, like that part last time that was going to just keep talking about how the unknown is scary.
Right.
Because that is something that isn't, like, there was no resolution for, so it could go on forever. But often the unfolding will just shift to the next step for me. So I have a curiosity of, like, what would happen if I just sat in the silence for a long time, if it would all unfold, or if it would only go so far and I'd need to ask for a cue.
Yeah. The same happens for me when I'm in the other role. It's like how much to say out loud and try to describe.
Yeah. So does it happen for you that if you're just sitting with it, like, the visuals and the communications will just kind of keep happening, that your part will talk to you and you'll naturally respond back to it, and then it will show you something and then you'll naturally respond?
I don't know if I would say how natural it is. I mean, I feel like when I'm doing my work with just myself, I'm still I'm still basically following a script, and I have a series of places I want to go in a conversation, and I'm still careful to leave open what needs to be open and be sensitive to that. But yeah, I like to kind of check the boxes of going through certain steps pretty much. It might just be because I'm really new to it, but I feel like I can get lost pretty easily. Especially by myself, it's just getting blended and getting just kind of.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like by myself, without the presence of another person in the room, it's easier. I feel like it's much easier to get stuck blended. But somehow having another person usually makes things cooperate.
Yeah,
quite well.
But I've also been in peer work situations where someone's guiding me, and like I'm getting off the phone and saying like, okay, I know what to do. Bye. Where I feel like I've got it, and that's okay too.
Yeah, so if we were to try anything else, I have curiosity around that, of like just sitting in the quiet. At least for that part of me that can feel like it wants to be able to have something to describe, because sometimes going into describing it takes me out of it.
Yeah.
If I just stay into it, then the next interactions will happen because I'm in it.
Yeah.
And then also that also would helps the part that is like sometimes aware of recording.
Yeah.
To have that full freedom of like, yeah, we can just sit in the silence and like I don't have to describe each step, and it's okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
I'd be open to that. Experiments are always good, just to see what will happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Cool.
Thank you, James.
Thank you.
I realize we've gone over on.
I got no time limit.
Oh, okay. Good. For that, I'm glad that we didn't go over on any time limit for you.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Okay.
Well.
Cool. Well, that was really great progress. It was like out of reach before. I could just feel some of the emotions yesterday and today.
Yeah.
But not the clarities. So that was really helpful. And I feel grateful to have more clarity and awareness around what to focus in on as I'm tuning into that, or as I'm moving forward in certain actions in life and that stuff, and it comes up to be able to interact with it. So thank you, James.
Thank you. That's great. It's really nice talking with you.
Cool. Yeah, really nice to talk with you too.
Okay. Talk to you later.
All right, thanks.
Have a good night. Bye.
Bye.
Do you want to help bring more self-energy to the world? If you'd like to participate in calls or help out with this project in any way, I'd love to hear your ideas. Join the Discord server or contact me at james@liveifs.com. A huge thanks to our audio engineer, Zikri, for your care and diligence in editing the calls. To every caller for your courage in sharing some of your parts. And to anyone out there getting to know their internal system, keep going. Who knows, that might be the most selfless, helpful thing you can do for others, and you're the only one who can do it. If you'd like to see us reach the largest audience, We must please the almighty suggestion algorithms at iTunes and YouTube, and they don't care about the power of IFS. They're looking for likes and shares and comments, and the sooner the better. Follow the links in the show notes right here in your podcast player to make your wishes known. And now, a minute of meditation. Or if you prefer, pull over. You can do it in 60 seconds. Just click one of those links. They're right there, and give us a like or a 5-star rating. It would really help. If you think this project is helping people, you're helping people by sharing it. Thank you.